Hey, Raiders fans, what's going on? We're diving right into the latest buzz surrounding the silver and black. And let me tell you, things are heating up around the league. There's chatter everywhere, and the Raiders are right in the middle of it. When you start hearing about calls being made, names being floated around, and possible trade pieces moving, it's that point in the season when front offices start thinking about the future. And honestly, it feels like the Raiders have some decisions to make. Moves that could shape how the rest of the season goes, and maybe even the next few years. Now, the big topic flying around right now. Trades. Who could the Raiders actually deal away, and who might they be targeting to bring in? Let's start with the players who could be on their way out, because there's definitely a few names that have caught the attention of other teams. And the first one that really jumps out is Malcolm Koonce. Now, I know the main talk has been around Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson, but sometimes teams will call about the lesser-mentioned guys just to see if there's a crack in the door. Koonce's name keeps popping up, and you can kind of see why. He's on a one-year deal. He's set to hit free agency at the end of the season, and the fit just hasn't felt as smooth as everyone hoped. The question is, does the problem lie with the Raiders system, or is it something on Koonce's end? Either way, when a player has talent and teams around the league are looking for more help on the edge, calls start coming in. If there's one team that makes sense for a Koonce deal, it's the San Francisco 49ers. The rumor mill has already linked them to pass rushers like Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson, but realistically, the Niners could go after a guy like Koonce to boost their depth. They've got the draft capital to do it, multiple fourth-round picks this year, and they know the importance of having fresh legs in that defensive front. So, imagine a scenario where the Raiders send Koonce to the Bay and get a fourth-round pick in return, maybe toss in a late seventh to sweeten the deal. It's not flashy, but it's the kind of trade that makes sense for both sides. The Niners strengthen a position of need, and the Raiders pick up an extra draft chip to build with. Now, switching gears to another name that's been in the mix, Jackson Powers-Johnson. I'll be honest, this one stings a little because I actually like JPJ a lot. The dude has talent, versatility, and could become a reliable piece on that offensive line. But let's face it, the current Raiders regime hasn't exactly shown him the love. He was benched earlier this season, and with the team drafting Kayla Rogers and Charles Grant, the message seems pretty clear. So, if the coaching staff isn't committed to him, maybe it's time to explore a deal that sends him somewhere he's appreciated. One destination that makes perfect sense is the Houston Texans. Young quarterback, improving offense, and a coaching staff that loves tough, flexible linemen. JPJ could slot in at guard, or even at center if they need it. The Texans are building something solid down there, and a player like him would be a big upgrade to their protection. As for the Raiders, a fourth-round pick in return sounds fair. Some might say that's not enough, some might think it's too much, but given how the front office has handled things, that feels about right. And for the Texans, it's a move that helps keep their young star upright and confident in the pocket. While we're on the topic of players who might be dealt, let's talk about a name that's had plenty of speculation swirling around him, Jakobi Meyers. There's been talk that he could be traded, and while nothing's set in stone, the smoke's been there for a while. Meyers didn't play against the Chiefs, and several teams have shown interest. He's a talented receiver who's proven he can produce, but if he's not being fully utilized and he wants a fresh start, it's not crazy to think a deal could happen. So where could he go? Maybe back to familiar territory, the New England Patriots. That's the only team he still follows on social media, and it's where he started his career. The Pats drafted him, gave him his first real shot, and there's clearly a connection there. In a potential swap, the Patriots could send safety Kyle Dugger to Vegas. It's been reported that Dugger's name has floated around in trade talks before, and both of these players could use a change of scenery. For the Raiders, it adds a physical defender who fits their scheme. For the Patriots, it brings back a receiver who already knows their system and could help stabilize a struggling offense. Honestly, it's one of those trades that just feels like it makes sense for everyone involved. Now, all these trade talks bring up a bigger question. How active should the Raiders really be before the deadline? Some fans might want a full shake-up. Others might say, keep the core together and ride it out. But here's the thing. Standing still might be the worst option. When you're heading into the bye week and the record doesn't reflect your potential, doing nothing sends the wrong message. It says you're okay with where you are, and clearly, This team has issues that need addressing. Whether it's depth, consistency, or chemistry, something has to change. Making one solid move could spark momentum for the rest of the season. Looking beyond who might leave, there's also a real sense that the Raiders could use some reinforcements, especially in the secondary. One name that keeps popping up is Tariq Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. This kid's got insane upside, length, speed, ball skills, and the Raiders could use someone like that to shake things up in the cornerback room. Reports say Seattle's been open to moving him because he doesn't quite fit their new defensive scheme, and if that's true, the Raiders should absolutely pick up the phone. A fifth-round pick could get it done, and honestly, that would be a steal. He's young, he's athletic, and he's proven he can play at a high level when used right. The Raiders' defense has relied way too much on zone coverage lately, and opposing quarterbacks are figuring it out fast. A guy like Woolen could help them shift toward a more aggressive man-to-man style. Another possible target? Alani Taylor from the New Orleans Saints. There's a real coaching connection here, since several members of the Raiders' current staff worked with him in New Orleans, and that familiarity always helps. The Saints, on the other hand, are short on draft picks, so a trade could benefit them too. Taylor's got the versatility to play both inside and outside, and that's exactly what this defense needs, someone who can adapt to matchups and give flexibility to the scheme. The Saints might ask for a high pick, maybe a second or third, but the Raiders could try to make it work by offering multiple later-round selections instead. If Vegas made that move, they'd need to consider extending him long-term, because this is the type of player you build around in the secondary. And while we're talking about the Seahawks, another interesting name to keep an eye on is Boy Mafe. He's got all the tools, a blend of power, athleticism, and burst off the line, but for some reason, things haven't quite clicked in Seattle this year. Sometimes a new environment is exactly what a player needs. Mafe had a breakout season not too long ago, showing he could be a consistent pass rusher, and that's exactly the kind of help the Raiders need on defense. If Seattle's willing to part with him, maybe a deal involving Jackson Powers-Johnson going the other way makes sense. It's one of those trades where both teams address a need. Seattle gets a young, versatile offensive lineman, and Vegas adds a defensive piece who could make an immediate impact. All of this leads to one big takeaway. Whether it's sending someone out or bringing someone in, the Raiders can't just sit on their hands. The trade deadline is creeping closer, and every team that believes it can still make a run is looking for that missing piece. Vegas is in a position where one or two moves could shift the tone of the entire season. Fans are watching, the locker room is watching, and the rest of the league is watching too. What the Raiders do next could tell us a lot about where this organization really believes it's headed. As we move further into trade season, you can feel the tension building across the league, and the Raiders are right at the center of that storm. It's not just about rumors anymore. It's about identity. What kind of team do the Raiders want to be for the rest of the year? Are they trying to compete now, or are they quietly looking ahead to rebuild pieces for the future? Those are the questions fans are asking, and honestly, they're fair questions. Because right now, the roster feels like a mix of potential and frustration. Some players have flashed brilliance, others have underperformed, and a few might just need a fresh start elsewhere. Let's go back to the defensive side of things, because that's where a lot of eyes are focused. You look at this unit and there's talent, no question. But there are also holes, and teams around the league know it. They can see that the Raiders are one or two pieces away from being consistently dangerous. That's why these trade talks make sense. Take Tariq Woolen, for example. Adding a player like him could completely shift the tone of that secondary. His length and speed could allow the Raiders to tighten their coverage, play more aggressively, and stop giving up those easy underneath routes that have been killing them. The defense is too predictable right now, too comfortable sitting back in zones. Opposing offenses know what's coming, and that's a problem. If you bring in Woolen, you're bringing in a player who thrives in man coverage, someone who can actually challenge receivers at the line and force quarterbacks to think twice. And that change alone could unlock new looks for the rest of the defense. Imagine Crosby and Wilson rushing while corners press coverage. It gives the pass rush more time to get home and changes the whole rhythm of a game. That's what the Raiders need. A small shift that makes a big impact. Now, let's not forget about Alani Taylor from New Orleans. He's not just a potential addition. He's the type of player who could become foundational for this defense. The Saints have been hesitant to move him, but sometimes business is business, and they might be open to the right deal. Taylor's energy, discipline, and versatility make him special. He's the kind of corner who can move inside or outside and still maintain consistency. The Raiders haven't had that kind of flexibility in a while, and that's exactly what makes him appealing. Add in the coaching familiarity, and it just feels like a natural fit. There's something else about the Taylor situation that stands out. It represents a shift in mindset. The Raiders can't just keep waiting for players to develop or for schemes to finally click. Sometimes you have to go out and get guys who are already ready. Taylor's one of those players. He's still young, but experienced enough to contribute immediately. If the Raiders front office truly wants to prove they're serious about competing, this would be the kind of move that says, we're not just surviving this season, we're building towards something real. On the flip side, the conversation about Boy Mafe shows another layer of the Raiders situation. Mafe's potential is huge, but like Malcolm Kuntz, he might just need a new environment to reignite his spark. That's why a trade that swaps Mafe for Jackson Powers-Johnson actually makes sense. Both players are young, both have shown promise, and both seem to be caught in systems that don't completely fit their strengths. For Vegas, Mafe could become the complementary pass rusher they've been missing, a guy who can rotate in and bring relentless energy off the edge. For Seattle, JPJ provides stability for their offensive line, something they've been looking to strengthen. It's the kind of mutually beneficial trade that both sides could walk away happy with. And when you think about it, that's what smart teams do. They don't just trade to make noise. They trade with purpose. Each move has to make sense in the grand picture, whether it's acquiring future assets, addressing immediate needs, or moving on from a player who no longer fits. That's what the Raiders have to do right now. Operate with a plan. Every decision has to point toward a direction, not just patch a hole for a few weeks. Another thing that can't be ignored is how much these potential moves could affect the locker room. Players notice everything. When a front office starts making deals, it sends a message to everyone else in the building. If the Raiders trade away key players like Myers or JPJ, the rest of the roster will understand that no spot is guaranteed. But if they make a move to bring in someone like Woolen or Taylor, it tells the group that management believes this team can still push for something bigger this season. Either way, it shakes things up, and sometimes that's exactly what a team needs. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Las Vegas is buzzing with whispers that could reshape the Raiders' defensive and offensive lines for years to come. The rumor mill has been heating up with claims that Nick Bosa, the ferocious pass rusher known for terrorizing quarterbacks, and Lane Johnson, the seasoned, powerhouse tackle with a reputation for shutting down even the league's best edge rushers, might be joining forces in Sin City. Imagine the pairing. Bosa, relentless and explosive, paired with Johnson's veteran savvy and brute strength. If it happens, the Raiders could suddenly boast one of the most intimidating lines in football history. Sources close to the organization hint that both players are intrigued by the idea of Vegas, an environment where talent meets high stakes and flashy lights, but nothing is confirmed. Bosa's youth and relentless motor would complement Johnson's experience and technical precision, creating a rare blend of speed, power, and football IQ. Raiders fans have already started daydreaming about the possibilities. Imagine Bosa pressuring quarterbacks from the edge while Johnson secures the blind side, giving a dual-threat aura to a team hungry for contention. NFL insiders suggest that such a move would send shockwaves through the league, forcing rivals to reconsider their offensive and defensive schemes. Bosa's ability to disrupt plays in the backfield could be exponentially magnified with Johnson anchoring the line, creating a scenario where the Raiders could dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage. Some analysts are calling it a potential dynasty-building move, though others caution that negotiations, salaries, and cap space could complicate the vision. Social media is already ablaze. Speculation threads and fan forums are lighting up with mock lineups, highlight compilations, and comparisons to some of the league's most feared front lines. Vegas insiders say the city loves a spectacle, and a BOSA Johnson tandem will be the kind of headline that fills casinos and stadiums alike. Whether it's wishful thinking or the next big shakeup, one thing is clear. The Raiders' rumor mill just got a whole lot louder, and every NFL fan will be watching Sin City closely this offseason. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.